Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jason. I am back again with another video. And this one is kind of a thread response to James Griffith's OG legend of the VC. I think he's been doing videos since before we were born, or at the beginning of the VC anyway. And he's also really good at coming up with topics like this one for us to dive deep into our collections. Even though the collection is nearing 9,000, it's definitely gotten past 8,500 at this point. That's including CDs, 7 inches, and vinyl, 12 inches, LPs, etc., and my cassette collection. There's always more to get, right? There's always a lot of records I want to buy. Some that I should own by now. Stuff like Noi and Can, which I don't seem to have, or My Bloody Valentine and Primal Scream, which I had back in the 90s and sold, not realizing how expensive they would become now to replace. But enough about that. That's our usual talk, is stuff we would like to get on wax, maybe stuff we have on CD that we would like to get on vinyl. This one kind of does the reverse order. This is a bunch of bands or artists that we have on vinyl, maybe only one album, maybe multiple records by these guys, but nothing on CD whatsoever by them for whatever reason. So I picked 10 or so, maybe 12-ish bands that I wouldn't mind getting on CD that I have in my collection. And let's kick things off New York styles with Lydia Lunch. Got a couple of her records in recent times, these reissues of 1313 and Queen of Siam. Always liked her no-wave, screaming style of sort of punk, post-punk, and including Teenage Jesus and the Jerks. I also have that on vinyl, but I have nothing by Lydia Lunch on CD. I have seen a couple of Lydia Lunch CDs over the years, though, and I've passed on them, so I think it's time maybe to pick them up. I haven't seen these two albums on CD, though, to be fair. I saw something, she did some collabo CDs. Another band I wouldn't mind getting that I don't have anything on CD, but I'd really like to get these first two albums, mostly from their catalog, and that is Sonic Youth. I especially like the first two albums. Again, that no-wave, kind of punkish style of Sonic Youth. In the early days, Confusion is Sex, which I think is the second album, and the Sonic Youth debut. This one is a reissue. They're both reissues. This one came with a bonus disc of extra versions and tracks. But yeah, the early Sonic Youth would like to get on CD for sure. Don't see those around, but I'm sure they must have got reissued. This is a band that I'm sure has some CDs out there for sure, but I have not really come across them much. Just played some Christian Death yesterday in my DJ set. Got these two records so far on vinyl, an OG and a reissue, but no Christian Death on CD as of yet. Another band I played just yesterday in my DJ set, Canadian thrash by Beyond Possession, and this is the debut and kind of their only album. I think they have like an EP or something afterwards. They came out of Calgary. Not that many punk and metal bands out of Calgary, at least from back in the day in the 80s. They are also on Death Records too, which is a great label for metal and hardcore. Yeah, killer record. It's also got distro by Restless, but I don't think, and Metal Blade, but I don't think it's ever been put out on CD. There is a CD, I looked on Discogs, and there's a CD compilation by this band that includes tracks from this record and I guess the EP, but that one is currently selling for $130 for a copy of that CD, so pretty rare, I guess. Now in a couple cases I'm going to show there are artists or bands that don't even have a CD version of their work, so I may be waiting a long time for those ones, or I could actually just burn a CD of digital tracks at some point, which is another option. Speaking of Canadian, another Canadian band, this one out of Victoria, BC, far on the west coast, Six Brew Bantha. I've seen these guys live once. It was an intense set for sure. I think it was like 2 sets really. Like they did all their songs, stopped for a break, did another whole slab of songs. Grindcore stuff, obviously, I'm talking about. Super fast, short songs. On the vinyl version, which plays at 45 RPM, it's actually just one slab of tracks, no real individual markers. So it might be tricky to put on CD. I have a couple of records by these guys now. I always like getting some grindcore on CD actually, so it would be kind of cool. I suppose they could actually just put it all into two slabs on a CD, two tracks, kind of like Husker Du did with Land Speed record. I have a CD of that, which only has like, I think, has a bunch of tracks, but just marked into two official tracks on the CD. Now some hardcore punk out of Mexico, Sedition. This one I thought would be kind of interesting to get some stuff by them on CD because I have a cassette recently. Got this reissue a little while back. This came out in 2021. 1988 album Extintos, and it's great hardcore punk. This one came out on Puke and Vomit, so I don't know if they've got plans to do CDs as well. I think they only reissue on vinyl. But then recently in Mexico City, I also picked up a Sedition cassette of a different record. I think a later one in the 90s. So just to complete the trifecta, it'd be kind of cool to have a CD by them too. This band, I have no idea if they ever put out a CD. They might have, you never know. Kind of an 80s cold wave post-punk band. Bit obscure. Parade Ground. I think they're actually brothers, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look that up again and what country they're from, but I think European side. This is a 2011 compilation put out on Dark Entries. San Francisco label, well known for putting out obscurities, cold wave, synthwave, etc. They did a whole bunch of Patrick Cowley reissues as well, who I wouldn't mind getting on CD too. But yeah, this is a really cool post-punk, cold wave kind of band. Very fun. Parade Ground. Would like to get that on CD maybe. Here's an artist that I have quite a few records by. I pulled 3 here, but I've got more by her. And that is Nina Hagen. Got a bunch of her records over the years. Not all of them are great, I have to say. I probably like the one I'm not showing right now, the one that has New York, New York on it the best. It was produced by Giorgio Moroder too. That being said, I wouldn't mind getting some Nina Hagen on CD. You never know. I've got a lot of vinyl by her for sure. Now this is a band I pulled, but I don't think this qualifies because I think I actually have a CD by this group. I was going to show some Damned, but I don't have these early stuff on CD, but I do have a later, sort of from their goth rock period on CD. So we'll pass over that for now. How about some obscure Canadian garage rock here? Deja Voodoo. It's the Cemetery album on Og Music, which was their label from Montreal. And Swamp of Love. Now I have double copies of both of these records. This is the black and white cover. I have the color cover. And I have 2 copies of Swamp of Love. Played a track from this record on my mix just yesterday as well. Love their stuff. It's like super minimalist. These guys were like just a duo. Stripped down drums, stripped down guitar. I think only like 2 strings on the bass guitar. Or I think it was a guitar but toned down. Gerard Van Herk and Tony DeWald. Big thing in the 80s. I was a huge fan of the Og label, which also put out the Gruesomes. More garage rock, garage punk. So yeah, they do a lot of covers and just like kind of obscure punk rockabilly versions of things. Really stripped down, kind of like a more minimalist stripped down Cramps. Don't know if they ever put out a CD of all their stuff. Maybe they did like a greatest hits. That would be kind of cool if they did. I wouldn't mind getting that on CD. And then a couple of electronic artists here to finish off. I got Seldod. I think is Swedish. I might be mistaken on that. But Anders Carlson basically is Seldod. He does some great synthwave, industrial, cold wave stuff. Recent times. This album came out in the 2000s at some point on Suction Records. Don't know if this ever got a CD release, but I would definitely pick up some stuff by him on CD. This artist definitely has some CDs. Shifted, Guy Alexander Lewis from the UK, including this record actually was on CD. This is on Bed of Nails label, Under a Single Banner. Second album by Shifted, maybe first or second album. Really good, like heavy minimalist dub techno. Great listening stuff. Often finds its way on my turntable. Wouldn't mind having a CD of it or of the other albums. And finally, this artist, which I don't think has anything on CD as of yet, which is kind of odd. I would have assumed maybe a CDR or something. I think he might have a cassette. Artist named Varg from Sweden. Not to be confused with a German metal band called Varg as well, who sued him and got a cease and desist using this name for a while. But this is his first album called Misantropen on Northern Electronics 1. I think it's his first album anyway, but excellent record. Again, kind of minimal dub techno, a little bit like Shifted, but with a lot more experimental and ambient industrial passages as well. Just a very cool listen. Very minimal on the label stickers, as you can see. But yeah, Varg will be another one that maybe I'll be waiting a long time for a CD by Varg, or maybe I'll have to burn one myself. But there it is. That's my pile of bands I own, artists I own on vinyl, but I have nothing by them on CD. And thanks, James, for this topic idea. See you guys soon.